What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Saturday special of Lucid Daily. And today we're going to go over a super important question, and that is, will Lucid survive a recession if we go into recession for 2023 or for 2022 or the beginning of 2023? We're going to go through their cash burn, how much cash they have on hand, how long that they can last with the amount of cash that they have and at the pace that they are burning their cash. And we're going to go through a whole bunch of information. I have a whole bunch of data that we're going to share with you guys. I'm going to try to go through it as quickly and as concise as possible because I know that this stuff can get kind of boring. So I made it super simple. Let's go ahead and dive into it. First off, I do want to also just announce that Lucid is having their annual meeting for stockholders on June 9th. So that's here in 5 days. 5 days from today, they will have their shareholder meeting. So I will definitely consider, I encourage you guys to subscribe because I will be taking a lot of notes and I will be forming a lot of different opinions and trajectories with what that shareholder meeting brings. And if we learn any new information, potentially we may get some more information on how Lucid plans to raise money, but more on that later. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. It's a very simple little graph that I made, not a graph, just like a little table to help us understand exactly how much cash Lucid has. Sorry, let me pull it up really quick. All right, so here we go. As you can see here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Let me go and zoom in a little bit more. All right, so as you can see here from this square, we have net cash decrease from Q1 of 2022. Lucid lost, sorry, let's put a negative sign there. Lucid lost $867 million in Q1 of 2022. And you can check all of my information. I got it all from their consolidated. This is their condensed consolidated statement of cash flow. And I went ahead and extrapolated the numbers. So let's say that they continue at this pace of burning cash for the next little while. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more for you guys. Let me try this. There we go. Oh, I can't go more than 200%. Oh, well. So their net decrease in cash, $867 million. And if you extrapolate that for the next 4 quarters, including Q1, so Q2, Q3, Q4, that'll result in a loss of $3.4 billion. Now, that sounds like a lot, and we're going to talk about it. Their cash on hand before Q1, so at the beginning, January 1st, 2022, they had $6.2 billion. But at the end of Q1, they had $5.4 billion. Well, we know that they burnt $867 million worth of cash. So if you take the cash on hand at the end of Q1 of 2022 and you divide it by the amount of cash that they spent in Q1 if you divide it by the amount of cash that they spent in Q1, that gives them 6 quarters, which is actually a fair amount of time, which is one of the most important things during a recession for Lucid to do. We're going to talk about a handful of things. So let's go ahead and see exactly what is going on here. The main question is, when will Lucid hit zero cash? That's in Q3 of 2021. So we should expect them to raise more cash before the end of Q3 2022. I did not mean to say 2021, 2022. That's when they'll hit zero cash if they don't raise any money, which Sherry House did tell us that they will be raising money. So we have Q2, Q3, Q4 of 2022, and then 2023, we have Q1, Q2, and Q3 as well. So now let me go ahead and explain what I'm talking about. Sherry House on the earnings call said, we have multiple options for additional funding to further solidify our position, which will enable us to continue to be opportunistic in the market. Now, from what I've researched, there's 2 main ways that Lucid would raise money. One would be equity financing. Equity financing is when a company raises capital by selling shares of company stock. This can either be common shares or preferred shares. Now, depending on most times in all scenarios that I've figured out, when it's equity financing, that means they are adding more shares. What does that mean? It means it dilutes existing shareholders, meaning that we own, as shareholders, we own less of the pie. So that's really important to note, which if people feel like they own less of the pie, that can lead to selling and is not the most, it's not the most positive thing for the stock short term. However, if long-term investors understand it, then it can be, it's obviously important because they won't survive forever on the amount of cash that they have. So what's next? The other possible option is debt financing. However, in a recession, debt financing, 1, becomes expensive, and 2, it becomes more of a burden on their balance sheet. When we're heading into a time with higher interest rates and people wanting to lend out less cash, debt financing, I think, can be taken off the table for these types of economic times that we are in. So I would think that we're going to go into equity financing. Now, the thing is, who is going to take that equity financing? We already know that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia owns 61% of Lucid. If you didn't already know that, that's an important percentage to know. They own majority of Lucid. So they control what Lucid does because they're the majority shareholder. So more than likely, it's going to be an equity financing round. Now, this will add dilution to current shareholders. I don't know how much cash they're going to have to raise. Hopefully, within the next handful of quarters, we can start to see Lucid get positive margins on their vehicles. Now, in how many quarters, I don't know. So with all the studying about Lucid and their equity and the possible equity financing that they're going to have to raise, I was also studying Rivian and exactly where they're at. So from what I can understand from a production standpoint, it looks to me like Rivian's about one quarter ahead of Lucid. And something really interesting is this past quarter, Rivian shipped all the cars that they had parts for. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Q2 of 2022 is going to be like the bottom for Lucid. I think that will be one of the lowest points in terms of production and difficulties. And hopefully in Q3, the Q3 earnings report, which will be reported in Q4, we will get a good report that like, hey, like vehicles are going good, our production's on pace. If they were to revise down their estimates, it will be in Q2. And hopefully by either Q3 or Q4, we can get some sort of idea about what kind of financing they're going to use to raise the next round. But let me go ahead and answer kind of the question of this video is Lucid going to survive in a recession, in this recession? And the simple answer is more than likely, because Lucid was actually smart and they raised a lot of money in 2021, and 2021 is when they IPO. I can't remember the exact date. They raised a lot of money, and so they were able to take that money. Now they're sitting on $6.2 billion of cash, which is phenomenal. That's going to buy them time for what will be one of the most difficult times in like the decade in terms of the economy to raise money. So thankfully, they have 6 quarters before they go to zero, but more than likely, I think they're going to raise money in 3 to 4 quarters, or at least have a plan to raise money. So is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, are they going to double down on their position in Lucid? Are they going to go from 61% of owners to 70% of owners? I don't know. Is another company going to come in? I have no idea who's going to raise the equity financing round, who's going to take part in it. I think that this is going to be something extremely fascinating to watch. So let's go back half a step. I think Rivian this next quarter is actually going to report a fairly positive earnings call. And I'm going to make a video on my main channel about Rivian. So if you want to go subscribe there. But the main point is Lucid, I believe, has one more difficult quarter of reporting ahead of them. But then after that, I believe in Q3 and Q4, we will start to see a positive U-turn in like a positive direction. Like, okay, we hit bottom. Now we're coming out of this very difficult production time. So I think that that's really important to recognize that this next quarter may be quite difficult. And just want to let you know, I have opened up channel membership. So I have had a handful of people ask how they can support the channel. So if you guys want to support the channel, other than watching the videos, which I greatly appreciate, consider becoming a channel member. We'll do Q&A there. And if you have any perks that you want to add to the channel memberships, let me know. We can definitely talk about it. I'm all ears when it comes to channel memberships. So that was the research I did, is if Lucid will survive during a recession. And I'm more than confident that this recession, yes, Lucid will be just fine. I believe they have the cash that they need. Hopefully I was able to explain this in a way that people were able to understand. I definitely learned a lot about Lucid's position. And I hope that this instilled confidence instilled your opinion about the position that Lucid is in. So if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I do personally think that Lucid will have a rough Q2 earnings, which will be reported in Q3. But hopefully by the time we get the Q3 earnings report, we can start to get some good thumbs up. So, and hopefully we get answers relatively soon about when they're going to raise that equity financing, although we don't really need it until Q3 of 2023, but you kind of want to plan ahead with that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And like always, consider subscribing if you haven't yet. I appreciate the support thus far. And like always, see you next time. Thanks for watching.